Hey, what's up, kittens? Guess what? So today I must go fix these nails. Ooh, this is like literally 1 week later. Very unimpressed. So Tuesday I have to have my nails done for something very exciting that I might be able to share with you on Tuesday, and it's kind of like one of those things that I've been saying that I've been able to pass on to you. So I cannot turn up with nails like this. I was very, very disappointed that my nails, SNS nails, only lasted 1 more week, and I'm kind of undecided, like, do I get, the acrylic nails again? But if I get the acrylic nails again, it takes 6 months to repair from that. Do I get the SNS that lasts 2 weeks? What am I going to do? So, I don't know. I'm about to go to the gym and do a workout. I know I keep training legs day for you, but I think that's because I just love training legs. Legs is just like my favorite thing to do, but I will do an upper body for you soon as well. I have tried to make this vlog a lot more simpler than what it is and a reasonable length, but it's actually impossible to do so. And the reason it's impossible to do so, guys, is because it takes on average 3 doctors to diagnose polycystic ovarian syndrome. For myself, it took a hell of a lot more than 3, like so many doctors and endocrinologists and gynecologists to diagnose me with what the hell was going on. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to put this into 2 separate vlogs. So I guess give me a subscribe and you'll get a notification as to when the next one will be, which is I do currently upload every 3 days. If you are in Sydney or New South Wales at the moment, you will know that it has been uber cold. It has been snowing up in the Blue Mountains and really, really cold. So I'm in my rug. I'm even in my matching socks. This vlog at the end is pretty much going to be for the girlies. It's going to be a little bit of TMI and about me having polycystic ovarian syndrome and my TMI menstrual cycle. So boys, I recommend that you kind of can watch the start bit, but unless you really want to hear about my periods, I don't know, maybe you do. I would probably say, that the end bit is not going to really interest you. But first up, I've got to go fix my nails. I kind of if any of you girls have polycystic ovarian syndrome or insulin resistance, you would know how fast your hair and nails grow. It's so fast. I love getting my feet pampered because I'm always at the gym and always on my feet because I don't drive. And just to get a pedicure is my once a monthly total pamper thing. But getting my fingernails done because they grow so fast, I'm always at the gym. They're always literally they just look bad after a week. If you have this, we're very talented and gifted in sporting, so we do have a bit of a gift as well. So don't think that this is all bad. But when I get back from doing my nails, I'm going to fill you in on the miracle that happened. I'm back and look at my cute nails. This place, they're down at Redfern. If anyone is in Sydney or coming to Sydney, they're Redfern Nails and Beauty. And they have if you have check out their Instagram page, I'm going to put them down below. Not paid by this. I got $5 off for paying cash, and that's the standard for everyone. If you ever go there, pay cash, it is $5 off. And the prices are really, really reasonable compared to other places that I've been to that do the same style of really cute nails. Oh, and by the way, girls, so my lips are super uber dry, like, because, you know, typical winter uber dry lips. But I kind of like, I love pawpaw ointment. I also love lanolin on my lips. And this is going to sound really, 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 really weird. I don't have any lip filler in my lips, guys, by the way. I have, as you can see, my lips are all right shape and everything like that. I had them filled once, like years and years. I look like an absolute clown. I looked so bad, and I've never done them again. I do need to keep my lips really hydrated, especially in winter. And so this is going to sound really, really weird as something to use for your lips. Oh, another thing is the Elizabeth Arden 8-hour cream. It's like in a little tube, a balm. That's really great for your lips. There's another Christian Dior product. It looks like a lip gloss, but what you do is you put it on at night and you wake up and everything is all hydrated. That's another nice one. And these Christian Dior lip colors, they're really hydrating, and they also come in different tints, like different colors. They're cute. And then this other stuff, it's going to sound really weird, but it's for women who are breastfeeding. It's like a nipple care cream, like when you're breastfeeding and your baby is like chewing away your nipples a lot, and your nipples kind of get really dry, all that saliva and everything that's going on. There is a nipple care ointment that you can get usually at pharmacies and things like that. But they usually, I remember years ago that I've used that before on my lips, because it's kind of like the same skin, right, on your lips to your nipples, I guess. So that was amazing on my lips. I'll never forget. In fact, I should go and get some more. It was like really thick, and I think maybe, no, it wasn't called Angvita. It was like a nipple care nipple care ointment. But it's, now, if you never know of the drug thalidomide, thalidomide was known to cause birth defects in children, like loss of, they were born with no limbs, like no arms, no legs, things like that. It was reported to the world and made public to the world by an obstetrician in Australia called William McBride. Now, William McBride wasn't actually the one that discovered it. It was one of his nurses that pointed out to him, do you think it's that thalidomide that is causing these birth defects? Because he was the only obstetrician that was prescribing it amongst, you know, ones or the other obstetricians that he was at, and all of his babies were getting born with this. Now, thalidomide is also a morning sickness drug. Okay, so then there was another drug called Demodox. It also went under the name of Bermox and another name in Canada. Anyway, he made a report that this particular drug was causing birth defects as well. Okay, so then the drug was voluntarily removed from the market. Subsequently to that, it wasn't forced removal, it was voluntarily removed. They thought that I was going to be born with spina bifida, so that was a hole in the bottom of the spine where you can no longer walk. My mother was told, you've been taking this medication, your child is probably going to be born with this. Anyway, I was born, did not have spina bifida. Okay, so, but then the obstetrician, because it was believed, no, it was going to cause brain defects and all these are like infertility and all these other things, he told my mother that I'm going to have all these problems later in life. Okay, so throughout my childhood, and keeping in mind, so when you're born with like a clean slate. But when I was born, you know, obviously my subconscious was still listening to everything that was getting said. So these words planted into my subconscious mind. Okay, in 1993, William McBride, okay, so he actually died last year, William McBride. He died in June last year, June 23rd last year, this particular obstetrician. In 1993, he was found guilty of scientific misconduct, and he was deregistered from the medical board, so like from the medical profession. He could no longer practice as a doctor. His name was pretty much scrutinized and shamed for falsifying this scientific report. Okay, so to falsify a scientific report, because it does, I mean, like a medication was completely removed from the market voluntarily, and not only to say that there was no precedent evidence for all of these things. Okay, so he falsified it, he was found guilty. Later on, he was able to come back and practice once more, but he pretty much, like, his name was completely tarnished. There is, you know, reason to, you know, thoughts out there that he always felt kind of like from an ego sense that because it was his nurse, he took all the credit for his nurse pointing it out that those children were being born with loss of limbs with the thalidomide that he needed to bring his own one to the world's attention. But instead of being legitimate, he falsified a study, which is like, no. Needless to say, the obstetrician that delivered me and the doctors that, you know, were my doctors when I was younger, and keeping in mind also that my mother was in the medical industry, right? So these words of you are going to have infertility issues, you are going to have all of these things were getting planted into my mind and throughout. Okay, so I am totally in belief that that is why, from myself and all the other girls in the family, I seem to be the one that got what I think came from my grandfather. Okay, so I got my first period when I was 13 years old, and it was like horrendous. Like, it was like gross. TMI, guys, is going to be gross for you guys. As I said, if you're male and you don't want to listen to this info, you can shut this off now. Really gross, big thick blood clots and whatever. It lasted for 7 days. 7 days. Okay, I always knew from about the age of like 9, like I was a little different to the girls that I was going to school with, right? Like the hair on my legs was really, really thick. It was more like I had like quite a lot of body hair on my legs. And I also, around that age too, I started to like gain a lot of weight. Like I've always had like a chunky kind of a body. Mind you, also European family, cakes for breakfast, sugar, all of these things as well did not really help this. But I was always very athletic. As you know, I was a swimmer and I played probably every single sport that there probably was. So I was always running around and being athletic and whatever. So I burnt a lot of it off, but I always had a bigger frame. But a lot of hair on my, so I knew I was always like, my sister never got this, right? And when I was 13, I started to starve myself because it was like the only way that I could keep the weight off. Like, it was the only way. So I started to starve myself. Then I did not get another period then for ages. Like, I did not get a period again. Mind you, I was very, 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 very thin, probably 20 kilos lighter than what I am now. When I was 17, then I went to I don't know, actually even know if he was a gynecologist or a endocrinologist, but I went to him and said, look, I haven't had a period since I was 13. What can I do? When you don't have a period, what happens is your bone density becomes really, 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 really thin. So you can be more susceptible to osteoporosis later on. So I was also really thin back then too. I was just thin because I knew that I was very susceptible to gaining weight. I used to really, really watch. I was obsessed with like watching my weight. So he put me on the pill microgynon, and that induced my period. Now, I'll never forget when I got that period back. It was like, oh my goodness, like TMI again, guys. It was like I'd put a tampon in and it would flood. Like, I was constantly changing literally every 20 minutes for the first 2 days. I couldn't go anywhere. I couldn't do anything. I was just like changing. But I guess because my uterine lining had become so thick for not having a period for so long. After like a while, so then I went to the hospital going like, I'm bleeding so much. And then another gynecologist put me on cyclocapron. And cyclocapron is a blood clotting medication. And I stayed on cyclocapron for quite a number of years because I thought, well, that's what I've been given. But needless to say, I don't need that now. But this is what I'm saying, like, doctors kind of just prescribe whatever they want to just prescribe to people, right? So if I took everything that doctors have given me and said, like, take this, I would have a medicine cabinet, like, so big, like, so big. But I don't. Half the stuff that they tell me to take, I just don't take it, or I do my own research. So they gave me cyclocapron, which is a blood clotting medication, and I was on microgynon. Now, microgynon also made me gain weight. So I gained weight, and then when I came off the microgynon, my periods came back naturally by themselves, but they never came back regularly. If they were ever kind of irregular-ish, they were like around 35 days. Sometimes they would go 50 days, 35 days, 60 days, like, you know, stuff like that. If ever I was stressed or anything, my body hair was always kind of like the same. He'd always said to me, if you ever want, I can give you a script for this drug called Saxenda, which is liraglutide. It's only prescribed to people who are type 2 diabetic or insulin resistant or a family history of heart disease and are obese. But I was not obese. I just had like issues with my weight. He knew I had issues on my weight. I was eligible to get prescribed this drug. Liraglutide is I'm pretty sure it's a peptide, but it lives in the small intestines. All of us have this in our bodies already, but some people, we need a little booster of it, right? So he wrote me a script. It's really expensive, guys. I don't know what the cost of it is overseas, but in Australia, this drug, it's about $400 per month. Okay, so I did not get this drug, even though I was readily available. And I kind of was just like, my weight was kind of, you know, going okay. So early last year, and then my periods have always kind of been like around, since then they came back like 33, 36, not regular, but not irregular, kind of 33, 36. I've never ever had a period at 28 days. I thought they were unheard of. I thought that my body was completely incapable of that, that was not how my body worked. Early last year, when like I was sexually assaulted, there is another vlog in my channel about that. If you want to watch that, you can, you don't have to, but basically my pituitary gland went into overdrive, that I just ballooned in weight. I was so stressed. I was like, you know, that I gained a bit of weight. So I went into his office. He was like, well, I told him what had happened anyway. And then he was obviously very concerned. And he said, look, if you want the Saxenda, I'll give you this liraglutide, you know, to help you come back down a little bit, but you need to also go see you know, a counselor and everything. I said, no, I have a social worker from, you know, the hospital that I've been talking to. So my social worker introduced me to meditating, because it was, I knew about meditation. I kind of like didn't believe in it, I guess. Not that I didn't believe in it, but I just thought, like, one, I didn't even know how to meditate. Two, I just didn't really like kind of believe it. But later on, after I did my own research, I realized that it is actually scientifically proven from MRI scans. And even at my university, they are, you know, every single university is all about meditation, 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 meditation. It actually regenerates the neurons in your brain. So at that particular time too, because I was going through the effects of immediate trauma, my social worker had, you know, and every single time like we'd finish our session with 5 minutes of meditation. And I became into a real like daily routine for me to just do 5 minutes per day. And then when a 10 minutes was a long session for me. Now I can hypnotize myself for like hours if I want to, but this is now, right? But back then it was, you know, 5 minutes, 10 minutes max. After a little while, I started to take antidepressants, a very, very low dose of antidepressants, only because I really needed a booster just to get me through. But I did stop the antidepressants. Now, something happened within this time that was a complete and utter miracle. I got a period at 28 days, right? And I was like, wow, because having PCOS, I always record when my periods are. It's just something that I do just because I know that if my periods are out or I'm missing or whatever, that something's not right, like my pituitary gland, my adrenal gland, like my insulin is too high, my sugars, like something is going on with my body as a whole. My body is very, very sensitive even to other supplements, right? So I always record my periods. Something happened and I got a period at 28 days. I was like, wow. But I knew that it was going to come because TMI, like 2 weeks before then, I got, for the first time like ever, I got this clear discharge. Like it was coming out like clear, stretchy. Like I knew I had ovulated. Like I was like, this can't be. Again, next month, 28 days. And midway through the clear discharge, I'm like, what? You know, I went to my GP and I told her, I emailed my endocrinologist. I go, you'll never guess what has happened. Like my period's 28 days, and he was over the moon because as an endocrinologist, that's all they could really want is like a hormonally healthy woman, like a girl. And she was like, oh no, there's, you know, it's not a side effect of Saxenda to have, you know, to affect your menstrual cycle. Well, if you like, this is what I'm saying about GPs is like, yeah, of course, it's not a written side effect of on that, because there is never been a study done on the effects of liraglutide, which is a peptide. I'm pretty sure it's a peptide, lives in the small intestine, on subjects who have PCOS, okay? But when you do the correlation between what is PCOS, the insulin resistance precursor, and diabetes, it all makes sense, okay? So from an analytical perspective, it all makes sense. Email my endocrinologist and I'm like, someone really needs to do a study on this and actually how it affects polycystic ovarian syndrome. And it's not like, typically it is for a weight loss and appetite suppressant, but I was not using it as that. I downed a notch to like the middle one and just kept using it for like months and months and months and months and months. And every single month I had a cycle at 28 days. It was like a miracle had happened. I've never had a period at 28 days ever, let alone consistently for about 6 months. I thought, you know, maybe it was the antidepressants. It wasn't the antidepressants. Maybe it was also the meditating as well, because my subconscious mind was believing what was said to me back then, even though it's old science and updated. And we know that William McBride falsified that test. We know that it is not linked to that and anything like that at all. There have been some other things going on, which I cannot talk about right now, but I was given the oral contraceptive pill, also because of, you know, just anyway, I'll go into those reasons as a later date, but I've had some issues with my weight again because I was given these hormones which contain a lot more estrogen and things like that. But went to my endocrinologist again recently and said, you know, the Saxenda is very expensive. In Australia, it's $400 per month. He's given me to try another one, which is a little cheaper. It's $140. And this one, again, guys, if you are wanting to try any of these things, I don't know what it's like, things are like overseas. I know that other things are readily available overseas more than they are very, very, very regulated in Australia. But you're not going to be able to get this stuff from just your GP. The only way you're going to get any of this is if you are medically tested for having insulin resistance or PCOS and you need to see an endocrinologist, okay? That's a doctor that specializes in hormones. And even then, the second one that they've given me, Trulicity. Okay, so Trulicity is only for diabetics, and if someone writes you a private script, like, it's really at your endocrinologist's discretion as to whether or not they trial it on you or not. Okay, so I have been given a trial of Trulicity. Again, we have that in our bodies already. It sits in the small intestine, and so they've given me that, and this is a little bit different. It's not once every single day like the Saxenda. It's once per week. I have been on that for like the past couple of weeks, and I have got a cycle like now. So I've stopped the oral contraceptive pill now, and I am doing this Trulicity pen, which is once per week. And I've also, as you know, I did the hypnosis. So when we did the hypnosis as well as other things, when we went back down into my subconscious mind, so when you do hypnosis, you get taken back to like infancy and really, really far back. But we pretty much like squashed the old science that had been given to like put inside me from like my mother and her doctors. And come on guys, they're like old school, you know, old school, right? So basically we've squished this as well because I really, really want to get my hormones back in check. So the next one, girls, I'm going to get into more details about how I got diagnosed, and every single one that I went to that, you know, gave me the wrong test, this and that, all the symptoms that I had. Yeah, again, sorry guys, I was unfortunately not able to shorten this into even this particular one. I had to cut so much out of it, and it still went down to like quite a long time. So we'll update you again.